Hello and welcome to World News on the Hour here on TVP World with me, Ashim Kumar. In November, Poland will reopen 2 border crossings with Belarus in Bobrovniki and Kuźnica, Prime Minister Donald Tusk announced on Tuesday. But before making a formal decision, the Polish leader plans to hold talks with Lithuanian authorities, who closed their border with Belarus on Monday after dozens of smuggling balloons entered Lithuanian airspace.
When we say the crossings can be opened, it is mainly because the border is now secured better than ever. Thanks to our joint efforts, the Polish-Belarusian border is probably the best guarded border in Europe at the moment. Regarding Bobrovniki, there are no logistical problems. Regarding Kuźnica, the surface of the S19 road will not be ready until the end of the year. So until then, the crossing will be limited to cars of up to 3.5 tons, and larger vehicles will have to wait until the works are completed. The opening is on a trial basis. If, for any reason, the border needs to be closed, I will not hesitate for a moment.
Poland's National Prosecutor's Office has petitioned the Parliament to waive the immunity of the country's former Justice Minister, Zbigniew Ziobro. Currently an MP for Law and Justice, Ziobro had allegedly siphoned off over 35 million euros from the Polish state.
Poland's Prosecutor General and Justice Minister Waldemar Żurek filed a petition with the Polish Parliament after a lengthy investigation found substantial grounds to suspect Ziobro had committed 26 offences, including founding and leading a criminal organisation. Should the Parliament sign off the petition, Ziobro will face arrest. The case is connected to the Justice Fund, meant to aid victims of crimes, but during Ziobro's term as Justice Minister, it allegedly served as source of financing for minor right-wing political parties Sovereign Poland. The investigation began in 2024 after a whistleblower provided recordings of private conversation between involved state officials. Ziobro has repeatedly rejected the accusations, saying they are politically motivated.
Poland has climbed in this year's World Justice Project Rule of Law Index, ranking 32nd out of 143 countries worldwide. The annual report found that Poland is among the few nations to see an improvement in its rule of law score in 2025. Across the region, the picture is less positive. Hungary dropped 5 places to 79th, while researchers say Russia continues to lead the global decline, sliding another 5 spots to 119th.
The ranking was topped by Scandinavian countries, while the Baltic countries fared well. Of the Central and Eastern European region, the Czech Republic placed 20th, while Poland came in at 32nd, Slovakia 36th, and Romania 44th. Hungary placed 79th, Serbia came in at 96th, several places behind Ukraine. Belarus was ranked 105th, and Russia slumped to 119th, just above Nigeria and Mexico, as Afghanistan and Venezuela closed off the ranking. Overall, the report found an expansion of authoritarian trends, with deep declines in factors measuring constraints on government powers, open government, and fundamental rights. In terms of the 2025 ranking, Hungary and Russia were identified as the worst offenders.
Germany has received a written guarantee from the United States confirming that Rosneft's assets placed under trusteeship in Germany will be exempt from US sanctions against the Russian oil giant. Economy and Energy Minister Katharina Reich told Reuters on Tuesday.
Berlin took control of Rosneft's assets in 2022, including the Schwedt refinery in Brandenburg, one of Germany's largest, responsible for over 12% of national fuel output, following Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. The German government argued the assets were separate from the parent company and vital to the country's energy security. The energy minister said Washington's letter of guarantee confirms that these holdings are legally distinct and thus excluded from the sanctions regime. The exemption follows lobbying by Chancellor Friedrich Merz, who sought to protect Germany's refining capacity as new US restrictions target Rosneft, Lukoil and 34 subsidiaries in an effort to pressure Moscow into a ceasefire.
On Wednesday, the Dutch will head to the polls for yet another snap election. Leading the opinion polls is the right-wing Party for Freedom, but future coalition talks will be key to determining the makeup of the next Dutch government. Once again, migration is a central issue of the election campaign.
Geert Wilders is often called the Dutch Donald Trump, not only because of his hairstyle, but also his views. And his migration policy is why the Dutch will be heading to the polls for a snap election. Wilders and his Party for Freedom won the previous parliamentary election 2 years ago, but the party withdrew from the ruling coalition after the implementation of its strict migration policies was stopped by the rest of the alliance. Now Wilders and his party are once again frontrunners in the opinion polls, and once again migration is at the center stage of their election campaign.
When they come here, they are no longer asylum seekers but migrants, and we'll send them back. If we don't let them in, we don't even need to send them back, and we'll simply not let them in.
Lately though, a left-wing contender has almost caught up to the poll leader. It's the alliance between the Greens and Social Democrats, led by former European Commissioner Frans Timmermans. That's him at a recent climate march.
Green and red can no longer be separated because the climate policy that has been pursued so far has yielded far too many benefits for those who are already well off, and people who are struggling have benefited too little.
High costs of living and housing scarcity are seen as major issues shaping this election campaign, but migration stands out as the key issue driving voters. In recent years, the Netherlands has shifted to the right, and even traditionally more moderate parties have taken a tougher stance in response to the mood among the voters.
I'm worried about the integration of so many foreigners. I can see my grandchildren wearing a burqa in a few years. I really think so.
I see things aren't going well in the Netherlands financially. With the asylum crisis, so to speak, these people all need to eat, they need to live. But we need to be able to take care of ourselves, and that's why I'm voting for the Party for Freedom, our own people first.
The number of asylum seekers in the Netherlands is not extremely high, but it's very easy to attach a lot of issues to asylum seekers. For example, the housing crisis is seen as partly an asylum seekers crisis, because they need houses. And it's attached to many other issues as well.
The election is set for Wednesday, October 29th. The results will determine the tone of inevitable coalition talks between the contenders. Last time around, the talks lasted nearly half a year.
Diela, the world's first AI minister serving at the Albanian parliament, is, quote, pregnant and will soon give birth to 83 children. The AI bot was initially introduced with a mission to tackle corruption and promote transparency and innovation within Prime Minister Edi Rama's cabinet. Diela, whose name comes from the Albanian word for son, was appointed Minister of State for Artificial Intelligence earlier this year. According to Edi Rama, her AI offspring will share the same knowledge she possesses and will be tasked with assisting Albanian parliamentarians. Their roles will include participating in parliamentary sessions, maintaining records, informing MPs on how to react, and summarising discussions. Who would have thought? Well, that brings us to the end of this episode of World News, but we will be back on the hour, so see you then. Goodbye.